I can be a rock star, baby, but I'm selling CDs at the trunk of my car. I could be a rich guy, maybe, but I'll make $10 and I want you to get by. I'm sick of standing on the edge. I'm sick of staying in my bed. I should make something of myself.
Hi guys, for those who don't know me, I'm Mandy. I also go by mandydel on the internet, and I was born with HIV. Nope, HIV is not a death sentence anymore. It's actually a very manageable chronic viral illness today. Why is that, you ask? People living with HIV who take medication consistently every single day can be undetectable, and undetectable means when they take blood, HIV is not detected in their blood, so it's under a certain amount of copies per ml of blood. And science has proven that undetectable equals untransmittable. So people living with HIV who are undetectable literally cannot transmit HIV. So that means that they can have sex with or without a condom. Yes, I just said that. You can rewind if you need to. I said what I said. And if you don't believe me, understandable, I'm just a person on the internet. I'm gonna put a bunch of sourced links in the description box, so go do your research, honey. So today's video is a day in my life checkup appointment edition, so you guys can see what a typical HIV checkup appointment day looks like for someone living with HIV. No, I'm not on my deathbed. I'm very well and alive. Yeah, I kind of just want to show the world what it's really like living with HIV and really destigmatize this. So that's why I'm doing these little videos. They're so simple, but I feel like they can have such a strong impact in normalizing / destigmatizing living with HIV, because if you did not know, there are over 38 million people in the world living with HIV, and no one talks about it besides activists, obviously. Think about it. When was the last time you had a genuine conversation about HIV/AIDS? Not just HIV/AIDS jokes or like, ew, that's gross type thing. Like a genuine conversation to either educate someone, to educate yourself, or to relate to someone. Because if it's been a long time or you never even had one, hello, let's have a conversation. So as you saw in the first few clips, I went to the hospital to get my blood drawn that day, and every time I go, okay, basically I'm gonna tell you guys from start to finish what it looks like, because I wasn't gonna vlog the whole time just because, you know, there's a bunch of people around me. So basically I get to the hospital, I go in. When I go in, they ask you a bunch of questions for COVID, and you have to put hand sanitizer. And then, actually you could say this is kind of like pandemic edition as well, because I usually would not have to do this. I think it's still interesting, and like I should still tell you guys because things have changed. So after that, I go in and I take the elevator and I go to the floor where my department is. So this department takes care of a few different things, such as infectious diseases and chronic viral illnesses. I think that clinic also used to do something else. I think they would do like vaccines for traveling too, but since COVID, they got rid of that. So when I get into that department, I have to take a ticket. There's two choices on the little ticket machine. So as you saw, there was infectious diseases and chronic viral illnesses. HIV is a chronic viral illness, so I click that and I got my little ticket, and then I wait for the secretary to call me. After they call my number, I go see them, I give them my Medicare card, and they're like, oh, you're here to see Dr. Blank, and I'm like, yeah. And then I just have to wait. They have like a little waiting room area, so I just wait there. Actually, that day I wasn't there to see my doctor, I was there to get blood, so I just checked in and told them I was there to take blood. So I finally got called, and one of the nurses came out, and I followed her to this area where I filmed it a little bit. I don't really know what this area is, but there's different rooms basically, and that's where people go to either like take blood or they have to be seen for something. I sat there, I had to wait. They were like understaffed that day and everything. Probably every day there are, unfortunately. And then she took my blood. I don't know how many vials, but it's not that much. I remember when I was little, I had to take so many freaking vials because I was doing research on top of that. So yeah, I would basically get paid to give my blood to research, which is pretty dope. But for now, I'm just taking like the ordinary amount that they ask. Got my blood done. I'm gonna show you guys the paper that you need to have when you take blood. So there's different categories depending on the patient. HIV new patient, HIV follow-up, HCV new patient, HCV follow-up, blah blah blah. So for my specific case, I go under HIV follow-up. So for the follow-up, this is what they check: CBC, electrolytes, glucose random, AST, ALT, and total bilirubin, CD4, CD8 direct, HIV viral load. And also this part right here. And the back is for other different cases. So STI profile, so you know, if you have hepatitis, chlamydia, stuff like that. It really depends on your health status. For me, I only have HIV, so it's always just HIV follow-up that's checked. So yeah, that's pretty much what the vials are for. They check for different things. So when I was done taking my blood, I headed downstairs to this bomb-ass smoothie place and I got myself a smoothie. Okay, fun fact, when I would go to the doctors when I was little with my mom, every time we would go to the hospital, we would always go out for food afterwards. We would get different kinds of ethnic foods every time. So one time we would get Lebanese, one time we would get Japanese. I love foods from other cultures. I think they're like the best. Love that over like hamburgers and french fries type thing. I would always kind of get rewarded with food after my appointment, so I kind of kept that tradition going for myself, and now I kind of treat myself as I should. So after I grabbed my smoothie, I dipped. That was pretty much it for that day. Oh yeah, and the sky was so freaking pretty that day. It was pink. It was like a cotton candy sky. I had to film it. I had to make it part of my vlog. But yeah, that was pretty much it for that day. Usually I have to take blood at least a week before my doctor's appointment. But this time my doctor's appointment was over the phone because of the global circumstances. So I had an appointment with her over the phone set for, I think it was like 2 weeks after or something. So, oh my god, yup, don't you just love when that happens? Love that for me. Okay, not me losing a nail halfway through the video, but the show must go on. So fast forward to the day of my appointment on the phone with my doctor. My doctor phoned me, and one thing that you need to know about HIV checkup appointments, we look at the two most important numbers, and those are the viral load and the CD4 count. Those are the most important things. Every single appointment, that is what we look at. Look at it as a couple. Viral load and CD4 cells. They don't love each other, but they're still, you know, they come as a couple. So what I mean by that is that doctors don't usually look at only one. They always look at both. So what are they, you ask? So basically, viral load is the number of copies of HIV per milliliter of blood. And CD4 count, well, basically you gotta know what CD4s are first. So CD4s are a type of white blood cell. They're a type of lymphocyte, which is basically a type of immune system cell. So your CD4 cell count is basically the number of those type of white blood cells in a cubic milliliter of blood, which is a very small blood sample. So no, when someone says like, oh, I have 500 CD4 cells, it's not 500 for your whole body or whatever. It's 500 per cubic milliliter of blood. But apparently the viral load is a better indicator of health than CD4 cells, and that is kind of the case for me because my viral load is very low. It's like non-existent pretty much. My CD4 count is also kind of low. So the difference is the viral load, you want it to be low. You don't want your viral load to go up, but the CD4 count, you do want it to be high. How the doctors would explain this to me when I was little was your CD4 count is basically like your little soldiers in your body, And the more soldiers you have, the stronger your little army of white blood cell soldiers are to defend your body against this mean virus. You want a big army of CD4 cells, and you want a tiny army of the virus. So that's a good way to kind of look at it. You know, for someone who doesn't know anything about HIV and whatnot, this is what they explain to kids. I think it's good imagery to picture, because as a kid, when I would take blood, instead of focusing on the needle and stuff like that, I would focus on like, oh, I hope I have a lot of white blood cells. I hope I have a lot of little soldiers this time. And I would always visualize like 500 of them. So let me get into the deets of the viral load and the CD4 cell count. So for me, when my doctor called, she told me that my viral load is undetectable. We love to see it. We love an undetectable queen. So basically the test that we have at the hospital, it can detect down to 20 copies of HIV per ml of blood. If you have over 20 copies, then you're considered detectable. But I'm gonna elaborate on this just because our test is, you know, down to 20 copies, but it doesn't mean that if you're over 20 copies that you're necessarily detectable, just because there are other tests out there that they can only detect down to 50 copies. It really depends on the test that you take, but I looked it up, and generally if you're under 50 copies, then you're considered undetectable. So, you know, don't worry if you have like 35 or 40. You're good. You don't need to worry. So yeah, when they checked my blood in the lab, they saw that I was undetectable because they couldn't detect a virus in my blood. So that is very good. And concerning my CD4 count, she said that I had 366. So just to give you a bit of reference, a person that does not have HIV typically has between 500 and 1,500 CD4 cells. So generally when you have less than 500 CD4 cells, it's considered a bit low. But given that I've been living with HIV literally since the day I was born, it's kind of normal for me. And personally, I've always had a lower CD4 count. So that's why at first I was like, oh, that's a little low, but my doctor was like, it's okay, you don't have to worry about it, you know, as long as like you're undetectable. That's the most important, and I have been for years, so I don't have to worry too much. I did ask her like, how could I increase my CD4 count, and there's nothing really specific that you can do, but obviously, you know, taking care of yourself, you know, eating right, exercising, reducing your amount of stress, that can all contribute to increasing your CD4 cell count. My doctor said that I typically have a relatively low white blood cell count in general, so I have a relatively low CD4 cell count as a consequence. In my case, it's kind of normal, but CD4 cell counts also fluctuate. So at the beginning of the year, I think I was closer to the 500 mark. I think I was in the 500s, I'm not sure. I was somewhere between like 450 and 500, so I was doing pretty good. Now it kind of went down, but this is just something that fluctuates. When you have to be worried though is when your CD4 cell count is under 200. Some countries consider that AIDS, but my doctor said that here they consider it AIDS when you're under 200 CD4 cells and you have an illness on top of that, so like you had pneumonia or something like that. If you're over 200, don't worry about it. It's really when your viral load fluctuates that it's more worrying. The last thing that we talked about is pretty exciting, and I'm gonna share it with you guys. My doctor told me that in summer 2021, summer to fall 2021, the injections for HIV should be available. So as someone living with HIV, I have to take a pill every single day. Basically, this injection would replace taking those pills every day. And no, it is not a cure. I don't want people to see this and be like, oh my god, there's a cure for HIV. Like, no. It's still considered an ART, antiretroviral therapy. It is a type of drug that is injected into your body. So I'm gonna let you guys in on what it consists of. So the injection is called cabotegravir.
Cabo?
Sorry, I'm like running out of daylight. Gotta use a light right here. So essentially, they would put me on this medication in pill form for the first month just to see how my body reacts to it. And then if my body reacts well, I don't have any, major side effects or anything, then they would give me the injection, and the injection would be given to me once per month. So I would have to go to the hospital, get it injected. I think it's in the arm that they inject it. And yeah, basically instead of taking pills every day, I would have an injection once per month. So that's really blessed. I'm so excited to get this injection. I talked to the pharmacist on the phone and I asked her a bunch of questions though before getting this, because I wanted to know, what kind of side effects does it have, just because currently I don't have any side effects, so I don't want to go on something that will give me side effects. But she said the most common one is injection site reactions. So when the injection is put into the arm, there might be swelling or redness or soreness, stuff like that. But that's pretty much all she said. I'd have to look into all the side effects online. But a lot of these medications call for headaches, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, like whatever. But I've never had any of that. Thank God. Only years ago when I was put on some medication that my body did not like at all. As for the recent types of medications like Biktarvy and Genvoya that I've been on, haven't had a problem. So I'm not too worried. I'm actually really excited because if you know me, I have a really hard time swallowing pills still to this day. I was able to for years, but then last year I had this whole jaw operation and everything, and I stopped swallowing them whole. I basically have to crush them now. Don't worry, my doctor is aware and whatnot. The pill that I'm taking, I'm not usually supposed to crush them. I don't advise doing this, but I'm just sharing my own experience. Personally, crushing them has not affected my viral load at all. So my doctor is like, you can continue what you're doing until the injection is available. So that's really gonna help me when the injection is gonna come out. I'm not gonna have to swallow pills all the time because I have such a problem swallowing pills, which is ironic because I have to take them every day. I think it's because I kind of have a fear of choking. It's just something that I gotta work on. I do want to mention that even though there's a possibility that I can get the injections, I still want to work on this issue, this fear of mine, because who knows, I might have to take pills in the future. I can take small pills, that's fine, but anything that's bigger, I don't know why, it just scares the shit out of me. So probably because I choked a lot in the past on food as a kid and kind of traumatized me, and that's on having misaligned teeth and you can't chew properly. That's why I have braces right here, and getting a double jaw surgery so I can finally chew properly and get over my fear. Not me exposing my fears on the internet, but hey, maybe someone could relate to this. I don't know. Hopefully this video can enlighten people on how HIV is actually really just a chronic viral illness today. People living with HIV who are undetectable literally cannot transmit the virus. So it's pretty much like any other chronic illness, you take your pills every day and you hope you don't die the next. So I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's pretty much like any other chronic illness, if you have a heart condition or if you have diabetes, or I don't know, I'm just trying to find other illnesses that you have to take a type of medication or something every day and you live with it like that. Oh my god, not me. Like literally, by the end of this video, I'm left with like one nail. This is what I get for putting crappy nails on my nails. I'm kind of in lockdown right now, so gotta use what you have. Basically trying to say that it's like other chronic illnesses in a way that you cannot give it to someone else. It's just, you live with it yourself and there's no risk of giving it to other people, it's like there's no risk of giving someone a heart condition type thing. Today, HIV is nothing like, in the 80s and whatnot, where it was scary because people didn't know much about it. But today, you don't need to worry about that. The information is there. You just have to educate yourself and realize, like, you can't get it by kissing someone or sharing drinks with someone or hugging someone, and you can't get it through sex with someone who's undetectable either. So it's really a game changer. It's not the same at all, and that's what I want to showcase in my videos. I want to show people that, because people still have the same mindset as in the 80s. The virus has changed a lot with modern medicine, but the stigma is still the same as in the 80s, and y'all gotta catch up. Society has to catch up, so that's what I'm trying to do. If you want to check out other HIV vids that I made a playlist called Living My Best Life with HIV, so go check it out. And for the people who are worried about getting HIV, you should not be worried about getting it from people like me who know their status. It's the people who do not know their status that you have to worry about. It's the people who have sex and don't bother getting tested. They're like, oh, I'm fine, you know, I'm untouchable type thing. Those are the people you gotta worry about. But people who are living with HIV like me, who know their status and who are responsible and who take medication every day and who are undetectable, you do not have to worry about getting it from someone like me, because you won't. Why? Because you equals you. Undetectable equals untransmittable. Let's say it together. Undetectable equals untransmittable. Period. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope this gave you a good insight on what it's actually like living with HIV and what doctor's appointments are like. Let me know what other videos you want me to do. I have a bunch of ideas, but I do want to hear what you guys want from me, because I'm feeling hella inspired, especially for the new year. Come at me with them ideas, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me on all my social medias. They're linked down below. And yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.